Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we're again doing something a little bit different. We're going to do a book review. So I used to read quite a lot back in the days, but then since I started working and stuff, reading has taken a step back. And I do feel really sad about this because I really enjoy reading. And recently I was on vacation, so I decided to pick up a book randomly. And given that I've been doing a lot of, self-growth, emotions, feelings kind of videos, I thought that I wanted to read something about human connections and bonding. And I did a little research and I came across this book called Attached, which is the book that we'll be talking about today. So it's called Attached. The authors are Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. And this was incredible. It blew my mind. I don't generally read self-development or emotional growth books, but this one completely blew my mind. So I knew a little bit about attachment theories in babies. I didn't know that it really translates to humans, and this was the first thing that blew my mind when I started reading this book. And I read this book in a day and a half, which is really fast for me because I don't usually read this fast unless it's Harry Potter. And I have to say that since I've read this, I'm like, okay, everyone needs to read this book. And I started telling a lot of people, and everyone, like Elizabeth and all that, about, oh my God, yes, this book is incredible. And it reminded her that she needed to write the book review about this. So it's really, really good. And I will strongly recommend this. This is a solid read. And I think that especially at this age, for me and my friends, we're all, either already dating someone or looking for a partner, or you already have a long-term partner. Either way, it is very important to be able to understand yourself and how you act in these relationships, and also how to look for the right partner or how to make sure that your partner is happy. So I think this comes at the right time. It's good for anybody. And let's get into why this book is so incredible. So as a summary of this book, right, it basically provides a scientific explanation as to why some relationships thrive and really, have a peaceful time throughout a lifetime, but some relationships crash and burn. And the authors use the reasoning of the fact that we need human attachment and the different types of attachment that exist. And these dictate the lifetime of a relationship and the success of that relationship as well, because it impacts everything in terms of our behavior, in terms of our communication, and therefore impacts the happiness and the happiness that you derive from the relationship and the longevity of it. So obviously, mixing love and science, this is a bit unusual, and a lot of people will think that, oh, this is all hokum. But also, some people tend to base everything around the relationship on, personality tests or body measures and all of that. So whichever side of the spectrum you're on, this book is for you, because they provide you with really good anecdotes, with stories, with theories, with scientific papers and proper evidence of things that have been shown in groups of people, focus groups, and tells you that this is what's happening with the majority of people. So it's very likely to be happening to you as well. But I do also have this feeling of that sometimes I'm a bit cautious with these books because they tend to really simplify, years and years of research and the complexities that, all of us human beings are, especially when it comes to feelings and how we deal with them, and, really boiling it down to a framework and trying to force fit people into it. And this is kind of true with this book as well. When you read it, you will see that, for example, they offer 3 types of attachment styles. And there is a test so that you can do the test and you will know which attachment style you're in. So this is quite limiting, and it's kind of a silo. You're being put in silos. But they also have a caveat where they tell you that some people might have mixed attachment styles. Attachment styles can differ depending on which relationship you're on, depending on what your partner is like. So there are gray areas, of course, and they tried to address it, but they still, it's still hard when you're coming up with a framework that will fit everyone. That's impossible. So you have to be a little bit mindful of that. But having said that, they did a very good job at caveating and at trying to make it a lot more inclusive. So I think for that reason, I really, really liked it. I think what really blew my mind about the book, and especially having spoken to other people who read the book, especially Elizabeth, one thing we agreed on was that, you know, when you read this book, what really compels you is the fact that, you know, you find words and the vocabulary that describes what for you has just been, you know, a bowl of anxiety or like feelings that you cannot express. And it's just all messy in your head. You know that this is not good, but you can't put your finger on why is this not good? Why am I feeling this way? How do I express this to someone else who is not in my head right now? When I can't myself comprehend it, how do I present it to someone else? And I think they do a very good job at providing this like common language that all of us can use, all of us can express ourselves, and therefore, you know, opening the gates to better communication and therefore better changes and implementation of these changes. So I think this is, again, very, very powerful from the book. And my favorite quote from this book is, oh my God, it is so powerful. I absolutely love it. It literally says, most people are as needy as their unmet needs. And I feel like I needed to hear this, pun intended, but it's just that a lot of times I've been told that I'm needy by people, and I've seen other friends around me who are being told that they're needy in relationships. And this quote, I mean, this is just a quote, but the book really explores this and goes into details about what this means. But this is telling you that the reason you are coming across as needy is because your needs are not being met, and therefore you are actively trying to make your needs met. And this is very simple, but mind-blowing, right? Because and then it goes into this whole thing. I mean, I'm not going to spoil the book for you, but it basically explains, right? So if a partner is not getting the reassurance, the comfort or the security that they're looking for in their partner, and they're not getting that, then obviously it's human reaction that you will actively try to put in more effort in order to get what you're looking for. And therefore, all of these compiled efforts are going to look like you are being needy. But you're not being needy. If your basic needs were being met, you would not be acting like this. And therefore, in this case, it would be a case of, you know, a mismatch of partners, or a lack of communication, or just a lack of understanding of what your partner needs. And I think this is exactly why I love this quote, right? Because it really helps people understand that, okay, when I'm asking for these things, am I being needy? Am I asking for too much? Or I should not have to ask for these things in the first place. These are the basic things that should have been provided for. And I think this is very important. It really puts you in a position of more strength, and you start to understand yourself a lot better instead of looking at yourself with, you know, being unhappy and disappointed because you feel like, why am I being needy? But you're not. And this is what the book really paints in a really, really nice way. So what the book does, therefore, it goes into these 3 types of attachments. You have the anxious, the avoidant, and the secure attachment styles. And they have a really good test in it at some point. Yeah, so you ask questions and you need to like fill in the little boxes, and then at the end, based on the results, it tells you which attachment style you're in. But based on the description of the attachment style, I already knew which one I would be in. But again, this changes, as I said. For me, it has been very different for a very long time, and then it changed very suddenly into something else, and that is entirely based on, you know, who you are around. It really impacts what kind of attachment style you have. So let me explain a little bit. So the book goes into these 3 attachment styles. Again, it's anxious, avoidant, and secure. It tells you what these 3 characteristics are, how do these people behave in a relationship, what works best for them, and if you are one of those, what can you do to improve the part of this that needs improving, and which kind of attachment styles are compatible with each other. And, you know, also you can do the test with your partner, so then both of you know which attachment style you're on, and then you can decide on, how to best work together to get to this like happy long life, whatever, together. So I think this is really, really interesting. And I think the most interesting part about this is it tells you the best suited combinations of the attachment styles, but it also tells you, for example, for the anxious attachment style, how do they behave if they are with a secure attachment style, or if they are with an avoidant one, or with another anxious one. And I think this was very eye-opening, because it shows you how the same person in a relationship can be so different, can behave so differently because of their partner, and this impacts their happiness, their behavior, their personality changes because of this. And this is, again, what I love about the book, is that it gives you stories where it shows you the progression of this person, how they were before the relationship. They get into a relationship with this type of attachment style. This is what happens, and you can preemptively see where this is going. You know what's going to happen, how are they going to behave. And then after this, if they go into a different relationship, based on the baggage that they take from this one and based on the other new person, how does that happen? And you realize that you're already learning. It's already all making sense, and you can guess what's going to happen. And I think this is really, really interesting. And it started to make me pay attention to people around me, because this is not just about romantic relationships, right? It's even with your friends, it's even with your colleagues, with your boss. If you just look at the way that they behave, you can start to guess, which type of attachment style they have. And therefore you can, obviously, if you want to, you can try to improve the relationship that you share with them by making sure that, your attachment styles are not clashing. And I think this is so interesting. And now it's like, I can't do it. I can't stop it now. It's just automatic when I see people around me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I can tell this is not going to help. I should not do this, or maybe I should say this now, because it would make this person happier. And I think this is nice, because obviously if you care about improving your relationships, and I guess if you're watching this, you do. And this is the same with me. So that's why it is really, really cool. And I hope you have the same experience as I did, because it really made me happy, because it brought science into love. And I think that's really interesting. But other than rambling, so yes, there are the 3 attachment styles. And I'm going to read you little extracts from the book about what each of the attachment styles are. So the book says that there are 3 primary adult attachment styles, which, like those in children, are anxious, avoidant, or secure. And our attachment styles reveal themselves in romantic, emotionally intimate situations, for example, during a fight, a breakup, or that precarious, weird moment when a relationship goes from casual dating to a serious prospect. So yes, so we know this, right? So far, so good. So, in these situations, people with anxious attachment styles can instinctively crave emotional intimacy and can become frenetically preoccupied with love and their ability to have or lose it. So, this is the anxious attachment style. And I think the name says it all. They're constantly anxious. And this is one attachment style that I've had in the past. And it is so interesting for me to see this, because the main problem with being an anxious attached person is that you are overly aware of small changes in people's behaviors, in the way they're feeling, in their moods. Just a slight change and you can pick it up. And this is bad, because this is, again, what the book explains, is that an anxious attached person, as soon as they notice the change, they go into recovery mode, right? So automatically you want to reinstigate the balance, and you're like, how do I do this? And that's when they start to act out. And they would not do this if they did not feel the change. And this change might be very small, very inconsequential. It might just be that the other person is having a bad day, but you can pick up on it, and immediately you're trying to bring them back and be like, let's go back to our status quo. But you can't do it, and that's when things spiral, especially depending on if the other person is avoidant, for example. Then they were already starting to feel like, oh, I feel a bit like this is too much. And then because now you're trying to bring them back, then they will resist further, and this is why it leads to clashes. And this is so interesting. And I think for me, as an avoidant attached person, I think it's very interesting to see my behavior being explained And especially because I am not the kind of person who is generally needy or anxious, but in certain situations I would turn into this person and I had no control over my reaction to things. And then afterwards I'd be like, why did I do this? This is so unlike me. And having this explained in the book was incredible. And being told how to cope with that is very, very useful. So moving on to the next attached style, which is people with avoidant attachment style tend to reflexively align this intimacy with losing independence and being suffocated, shutting down or pushing it away. So again, this is pretty clear. Avoidant attachment style are people who will constantly feel worried that they are losing their freedom and they feel suffocated, and they will therefore always, their first reaction is to move away. So already you can see that if an avoidant and an anxious attached person are together, it's not going to work, right? Because the anxious person will constantly try to get deeper into the relationship, and the avoidant person will keep trying to escape. And therefore both of them are going to be triggering each other constantly, so that it just becomes a bit of a mess. And the final one is those with secure attachment styles. They don't feel threatened or spun out by romantic intimacy. They communicate warmly and honestly. So obviously this seems like the dream, to be secure attached, and I have had that as well. But they also tell you about the kind of like drawbacks of being secure attached, because then you might not notice when things are changing with your partner because you're so secure, and also you might get complacent. You might not be doing things that you might keep doing things that are not working anymore, or you might not be making changes that should happen because you're so secure in how things are. So there are drawbacks for each of them. There are advantages for each of them, but it's not about having a good attachment style or a bad one. Again, this is something that the book really highlights, is that it's not this one is good and this one is bad and you need to make the journey from this one to this one. No, you just need to understand which attachment style you have and therefore how to work with that. And the general overarching message is we need more communication. We need to understand ourselves first, understand our partner, and communicate better. And I think this is obviously a very basic message. Everyone knows this, but this book is really like giving you data and evidence to tell you that this is how it should be. And I think it's a very good message. And I really like the epilogue. If I could, I would just read that all out to you, but I won't. But I think they say that the most important take-home message from the book, according to the authors, is that relationships should not be left to chance. Relationships are one of the most rewarding of human experiences, above and beyond other gifts that life has to offer. So, we really need to care more about our relationships, how we're approaching them, and understand why things go wrong, and understand our patterns, understand what we need, right? Because if you don't know what you need, you can't formulate that to your partner and they can't provide it. So you're not going to be happy. So that's all it is. And it is very, very, very powerful message, I believe. And finally, I think in the epilogue, they have these don't lose sight of these facts. So the main takeaways from this book, which is the first one, is your attachment needs are legitimate. So this is what I was saying. It's not about thinking that, I'm anxious attached. I have too many needs. That's on me. I should work on that. No. Your needs are legitimate. If this is what you need, you can't change that. And you not asking for it and not having it is just going to make you unhappy, either in the short term or the long term. And therefore, your partner will not be happy and your relationship will not be a happy one. So therefore, we all need to be aware of this, that our attachment needs are legitimate. If you need distance, if you need the avoidant lifestyle, that's okay. You just need to communicate that and find the right person for that. And again, this is also very important. You should not feel bad for depending on the person you're closest to. It is part of your genetic makeup. And again, this was really interesting, right? Because this has been used against me many times, that I depend too much on people. And that is not true in any way or form, but I do depend on people that are the closest to me. And this is our genetic makeup. Again, it goes on to, our ancestors and how our genetics have evolved over time, but we always automatically depend on the person who is closest to us. And it used to be, survival back in the days, but now it's for other things, but it is again survival. And this video is going to be too long, but I'm just going to go into it. So there's this story that they talk about. It's like a social experiment where they bring a toddler in with her mum, and they're both put into a room where there are loads of very interesting toys. And the first reaction of the kid is to just go and start exploring the place, and they will start touching all of the stuff and playing around. But then the mum is then asked to leave the room. And as soon as the mum leaves, immediately the kid switches, right? And the kid is now desperately looking for the mum, crying, banging on the door, not interested in anything that was in the room, even though previously they were very, very into everything and not paying attention to the fact that the mum was there. But once the mum is gone, they panic and they don't care about any of this. And then a helper comes in trying to bring the toys back to the kid, and the kid just doesn't want any of it. And once the mum comes back in and calms the child, she's okay again. She's like calm, okay, she's here again. And now she goes back to exploring and is really focused on everything that is around. And this is a very simple thing, right? We all could have guessed that this would have happened. But what does this mean, right? It means that when this kid had its person that she's attached to around, she feels secure to go and explore things. But once that is gone, so she's not confident anymore and she's scared and she doesn't know what's happening. And this same thing translates into us as adults. And then they did another social experiment where they had wives that had wires attached to them, and they were being asked difficult questions. And they were being monitored while they were being asked these questions, and how the heartbeats would change, basically stress indicators, and the stress indicators would go whoop up. But then once these wives, their partners came in and were holding their hands while they were being asked same level of difficulty questions that were quite stress inducing, you would see that they wouldn't go as high. The peak will not go as high, and they start to relax, all the stress indicators go down, and it's because their partner is there. And therefore, we can't say that this is not genetic. This is literally how our body functions, right? If the person that you are attached to is providing you with that security and that secure bond, then you don't feel like you're not needy, you're not any of these, and you will just go out into the world and explore. And this is why a lot of very successful people are people who have a very strong relationship, whether it is with their parents or it is with their partner or a friend or a business partner, but they have a secure bond that they can rely on at all times. And I think, again, this is just such an incredibly powerful message that it is okay that you need to depend on someone else. We are human. And what is the point of having someone close to you if you can't depend on them, right? So I think it's beautiful. I've always depended on people that I love the most. And I would like to think that they depend on me as well, and I can be there for them when they need me to be. But it's not even that. It's not about, a drastic situation so that the other person can show up and be there for you. But it's just the day-to-day, knowing that you have that bond with this person who is there. And therefore, it just gives you so much peace of mind and calm and confidence in yourself. It's really cool. And then, what's the other one? Yes, so again, this is for people who are in a relationship. So a relationship, from an attachment perspective, of course, should make you feel more self-confident and give you peace of mind. If it doesn't, this is a wake-up call. I think this is pretty much all of us know this. If a relationship is not giving you peace of mind, and this is not making you feel self-confident, is bringing you down in any way, boy bye, right? And then, above all, remain true to your authentic self. Playing games will only distance you from your ultimate goal of finding true happiness, be it with your current partner or with someone else. Again, this is also very important. In today's day and age, right, there's a lot of those dating tips where they tell you, in the early stages, don't do this, do this. Whatever it is, be alpha, or for a girl, be more feminine. Don't show your masculine energy. All of that BS, where it's just telling you to be someone else so that you can attract the partner that you think you want. Okay, let's say you are successful. You pretend that you're not all of these things, you're something else. You attract this person that you want to attract, but then what? You're not going to be happy with them. They are not going to be happy with you. You can't keep this up for very long. Even if you keep it up for the rest of your life, you are not happy because you're not getting what you want from this relationship. Your needs are not being met, right? And you will always, if you're an anxious person, you'll always worry that they will leave. If you're an avoidant person, you always worry that they're suffocating you. But like, it's not working because the other person is liking someone who you are not. And you are expecting things from the other person that they cannot provide because this is not what they have signed up for. And I think, again, this is such a strong message. So you need to be your authentic self, because then you're putting yourself out there as who you are and what you need and what you are offering. It's all honest. Therefore, you will attract the right person and then you'll be happy together. What's the point in attracting the wrong person? What's the point in you being the wrong person for someone else? It's just not worth it. Trust me. And this final message, what was the final one? Okay. So then there's this part about, for example, how is an anxious partner created who wasn't anxious in the past? If you have a cold partner, we automatically seek reassurance. And then when you don't get that reassurance, you just become more and more needy. And therefore, this avoidance and coldness from this person has now converted someone who's secure into an anxious partner, right? So this happens all the time, has happened to some of us, but this is how it happens. And therefore, don't beat yourself up. It doesn't mean that you've been changed completely forever. No, it's all dependent on your surroundings. And the final one, which I'm going to leave you with, is that it is not okay for people to have discussions with you where they are only looking at facts and completely ignoring your feelings or how their actions made you feel or the impact that anything has had over your feelings. And, you know, it's just not okay. And Elizabeth describes this as pretending like we're in the court of law, which is true. And this is a major red flag, whether it is, you know, in the workplace, whether it is in a relationship, in friendship. It's just not okay to be like, okay, but these are the facts. And therefore, what you're saying is wrong because feelings are not taken into account. This is really bad. Do not do this to people and do not let people do this to you because our feelings are valid. We can't change how we feel in the moment. If this is how something is making you feel, that's completely okay. And it is not wrong and your feelings should be taken into account, especially in a relationship. And, you know, basically this book is very empowering. It's telling you that your attachment needs are okay, your feelings are okay. And I think we all need this in today's age where all of us are constantly worried and stressed out and really overthinking how we are behaving, etc. We need to calm down and just accept who we are and be who we are. And obviously understanding who we are better and trying to be better versions of ourselves, but not versions that we think other people want of us. So this is the takeaway message. Really good read. I will strongly recommend. And if you've read it, let me know your thoughts about it. And if you have other books similar to this, please leave it in the comment section. I hope this was useful. It was a little bit rambly because I had a lot to say. But thank you for being here and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.